your questions at the end of this session. Now, I am pleased to introduce all the three speakers to you. For today, we have Associate Professor Dr. Emma Mirzawati Muhammad, lecturer from Pusat Kajian Media and Komunikasi, mentioned UKM. Dr. Emma is also the director at the UKM and UNICEF Communication for Development Centre in Health, also known as HealthCom. Dr. Emma has 16 years experience as an academic and health communication researcher. She is passionate to explore ways for communication to be utilized as tool to nurture positive health behavior and strongly believe in the importance of health literacy to empower society in making informed health decisions. Currently, Dr. Emma is researching about communication strategies for COVID-19 and Knowledge malaria in Malaysia, where she works closely with UNICEF and the Ministry of Health to design effective behavior intervention. Dr. Emma has led numerous research grants in the past and currently leading an international grant from UNICEF Malaysia and the Ministry of Higher Education under LRGS grant. Okay. And we also have Dr. Wanur Shirawan Muhammad Ghazali, Assistant Professor at International Islamic University Malaysia. Dr. Wanur Shira received a Master's in Communication from USM in 2011 and conferred a PhD by Nottingham Trent University, UK in 2017. Dr. Shira's field of interest includes media and journalism, health journalism, political economy of media, power, ideology, and culture, and also media studies. Currently, Dr. Shira is a leading research on formulating an effective guideline for media reporting to counter misunderstanding on vaccination. Prior joining the academia, Dr. Shira was exposed to the real practices of media in Malaysia through her attachment in Corporate Communication TV9. She also went to Bernama as an industrial attachment program in 2018 to gain more exposures in the field of her interests. Her passion in journalism could be manifested in several writings that she submitted to news.iium.edu.my. Last but not least, we have Dr. Hamida Idris, a senior lecturer in biology department from Faculty of Science and Mathematics, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Dr. Hamida obtained her Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Microbiology from UKM and PhD from Newcastle University, UK in 2016. Dr. Hamida has a strong interest in microbiology field and currently serves as a team member of IIUM research group studying on vaccine issues in perspective of journalism, which is headed by Dr. Wanur Shira. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, that is a brief background of our panelists today. So I think, okay, the room is quite full house right now. And without further ado, let us move to our main agenda today. All right? Yeah, okay. All the panelists, are you ready for our discussions? Okay, Dr. Emma is smiling over there. All right.
InsyaAllah.
So, insyaAllah, yeah. Okay. So as we know, okay, for today's topic is about how, okay, how okay we want to communicate about vaccine, especially in this media saturated world. But I think to begin with, I would like to give my first question to Dr. Hamida. Dr. Hamida, yeah, okay. As we can see from the media, yeah, right now, there's a big confusion and misunderstanding about vaccination. So can you share with us what is vaccination and why is there controversies around it? Dr. Hamida, the floor is for you.
Alright, so thank you so much to Dr. Shakira, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank UIA team for inviting me to be part of this program. Right. So back to the question: what is vaccination, and why is there controversies around it? So let me just share with you a little bit introduction on vaccination. Right. So we start with our body. Actually, our body is being created very smart. That even the presence of little tiny foreign particles in our cell, in our body, can be detected. Right. So this will then trigger the immune response in our body, and that is important to fight against this invader. So this concept of immune response is being used in vaccination, where in vaccination is actually the act of inserting foreign substance, be it attenuated virus or the latest COVID-19 vaccine, the mRNA, okay, into a body, either human body or animal body, right, with the aim to trigger the immune response, in which antibody will be produced. This antibody is specific depending on the type of disease and depends on the type of vaccine administered. So why do we need this antibody? Because once we have the infection from the pathogen, either virus or bacteria, right, this antibody will recognize the pathogen, the microbes, right, and then will act and eliminate the microbe from our body. So it will be stored in our body for a long period of time, and inshallah, it will be safe for us to use and safe for future infection if it ever happen. So, having said that, on vaccination itself, right? So, having the idea of getting inserted with a foreign substance, this is what trigger a lot of question, a lot of discussion, a lot of controversies, right? In regarding vaccination, especially among the public, especially those without science or medical background. Okay, so the questions like what's the ingredient of vaccine? Is it safe? Did they store the vaccine well? Will it trigger any other diseases? You know, I'm scared of bacteria, so it might cause other infection and such. So all these things actually lead to the controversies. And as a public, where do they get the information to answer this question, to answer the curiosity, and where do they turn to? Who is there to answer their question, right? So to make things easy, right? It's easy for the public to get the information, to get the facts from media, especially social media, where as we mentioned in our topic today, the media saturated world, as there are lots of information, including the right and the misleading ones. So who is there to help the public to do judgment and to check that they are getting the right, the appropriate information in order to them to get to know the right things about vaccination, right? So among the controversy, this is part of our research group study as well, right? Among controversy regarding vaccination, including the halal status of vaccine, right? The ethical issue in vaccine production, such as the usage of monkey and also fetus cell in producing vaccine. Okay, the vaccine safety, the side effect of vaccine, and also not to forget, especially in Malaysian setting, the comparison of vaccine against alternative medicine and also so-called natural remedies, right? So little did they know that sometimes the curiosity, the questions arise because due to lack of understanding. Actually the informations are there, but maybe the way like these scientists or the medical authorities deliver the information is not a layman enough for the public to understand. So I would like to take eczema as example, or rash, right? So in just imagine this individual having a jab on vaccine, right? And after few days, he start having a rash. So now he checked on the leaflet, vaccine leaflet, and it stated that eczema is one of the side effect of vaccination. So from there, right, based on assumption, he will have this mindset saying that, oh, I take vaccine and it caused me rashes, right? So imagine that if the rash is actually caused by the prawns or seafood that he ate last night. So, who is there to correct his mindset that he accused the vaccine that caused the rashes, right? So actually, in order to determine whether the effect is caused by vaccine or not, they need to do a report. Okay, go back to the clinic, go back to klinik kesihatan. There's a form for them to do report, and they will investigate. Our medical team will investigate and determine whether it's true or not that the effect is caused by vaccination. So having said that, I think these are among the reason of why there are controversies around vaccination, and all this actually emphasize the importance of vaccine communication to be done effectively so that the public can be educated and know how to choose information and make correct judgment on the information that they receive. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hamidah. So, from Dr. Hamidah's point, okay, we know that some scientific behind these vaccinations and also the issues that raised behind it. And Dr. Hamidah just now also mentioned about the vaccine communication. So I think, okay, I would pass the floor to Dr. Wanur Shira as someone who is from communication background. Dr. Wanur Shira? All right. Okay, Dr. Wanashira, can you explain, okay, what is a vaccine communication and its importance, okay, in this aspect?
All right, thank you, Dr. Shakira, for the question. Before we elaborate more, so let's introduce a bit on what is vaccine communication. Communication is the transmission of information from one person to the other person and from one source to the other destination. And it is considered as a tool, right, to convey messages um, related to vaccine in this context. And it involves a lot of parties such as health operators, institutions, government, and the whole population. And communication here plays a very important role because it helps to achieve the goal to increase the immunization coverage. And this is especially important to make sure that we can reach out the total population, the hard to reach population especially. So when it comes to vaccine communication, we can say that there are two broad categories. The first category is covering on the aspect of advocacy, social community mobilization, which is necessary to gain support and commitment from the policymakers, for example. And the other category is actually covering on the information, education, and communication activities that should be going on. All right, so from these communication activities, vaccine communication supports for the right to the access to health information because if we are aware, every individual has a particular right when it comes to the access to the health information. Why? Because we need to educate the parents to know why they should take vaccine and for what reason these vaccines, how the vaccine that they take is going to protect their children. So the access to health information is necessary, and through this vaccine communication, we will be able to convey the information about vaccine to the public. All right, so I would like to touch a bit on why it is important to discuss about vaccine communication. Briefly, based on my research, research showed that exposures to communication, campaign, and activities will help human beings to produce positive behavior in relation to the health messages being communicated through the campaign, and at the same time it will help to retain the existing behavior in relation to the health issues. So studies also found that when people did not really get sufficient information about vaccine, so this is one of the causes that would lead to the vaccine hesitancy. And of course, when we talk about vaccine hesitancy, it will influence the vaccine uptake in a particular country. Just to make sure that everyone is aware that vaccine communication is not new. It's not a new something new. In fact, it evolves over time to suit the current context, especially to suit the fast changing nature of the current society. So I would like to briefly recall on where people started to view vaccine negatively just recently, and I can see this is when where vaccine communication becomes more important. All right, so the negative perception about vaccine was actually revived recently through a controversial publication by Andrew Wakefield in 1998. And this publication claimed that there is a relationship between MMR vaccine and autism. But later on, several research that have been done, numerous research, scientific studies conducted, and they found that the statement by Wakefield was rather weak and misleading. And yes, it has been, counteract the statement, but the consequence of that publication is huge because it has gained a lot of followers, and that has contributed to the decrease in the number of uptake of MMR vaccine. And if you notice on the media, it has been played up on the media. The vaccine rejection or refusal does not only involve the MMR vaccine, but people tend to reject vaccine, any types of vaccine, regardless of whatever vaccine they will reject. Okay, so we have several groups who refuse to take Panadol or other kinds of medicine. So those kind of people who can be considered as extreme at the when it comes to discussing about taking medical something related to scientific. So they refuse to take it. All right, so all right. So in this, from the example, we can see that vaccine communication is crucial to address the issue of vaccine rejection. So in the context of the current situation, vaccine communication can be used for many reasons. For example, from countering misinterpretation, misinformation, to bringing back trust on vaccine among those who question them. And at this juncture, I believe that vaccine communication should be highlighted, especially during COVID-19 vaccine, which is going to be introduced next month, in order to have a more positive view on vaccination. And I believe that scientists, who else? Clinicians, policymakers, individuals, all parties should play a role in order to make people aware, to be educated on the right information when it comes to vaccination. So I think that is all from me to give you some overview of what is vaccine communication in general. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wan Nurshira. So basically, we see that how important is communications in order to inform the public about the importance of vaccinations, and also to counter some misleading informations about the issues. So with that, I would also pass the floor to Dr. Emma. Maybe you can elaborate more, okay? When we talk about this communicating about these vaccinations, okay, in your opinion, who should be the responsible or the stakeholders that should hold this responsibility, and then to whom, okay, these issues should be, I mean, communicated to.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shakira.
Yeah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everybody. Thank you, Comment IIM, for having me alongside Dr. Shira and also Dr. Hamida to discuss a very hot topic about communicating vaccination in Malaysia. So the question that was given to me, there's a lot of who's in it. Who needs to communicate? Who are the stakeholders? Who do we need to communicate it to? I think before even identifying the who's who's the who, we need to actually understand the whole ecosystem of the world that we are living in. So the media and we are constantly bombarded by all the messages and through different platforms. Just imagine we wake up in the morning and the first thing we reach is our handphones, at least to check or to check for the time or to to switch off our alarms. And then we go about and do our morning routine, and we go back to our phones and looking back our social media, Facebook postings, and then after that we scroll our Instagram feed, and then after that we go on Twitter and TikTok, and then let's go back to Facebook because there's somebody that I need to stalk in that I haven't finished stalking yet. So this is basically what our life is. And while we go about our day, we use media all the time, not just on social media but also traditional media. We still watch TV, we still listen to radio, we go on TV demand on Netflix and watch our and binge on our favorite dramas. So it's impossible to live in a world without the media today. Um, so with so many platforms, with so many sources, with so many people and so many opinions out there, who to believe? You know. So I suggest that we should embrace the world that we are living in, this media saturated world. We should embrace it because it gives more awareness. It gives more room for dialogues, for debates. It gives room for people to voice out their concerns, their feelings, their biggest worries, their vulnerabilities. And the media, although we see that it can be a challenge to manage, it can also be our strength. So, while I'm describing the world that we are living today, um, just to answer back Dr. Shakira's question, so there's so many who are actually holding a stake in vaccination, or who are the stakeholders. I think everybody is. I feel that every one of us holds a stake in health. We cannot live without health, and therefore we should take part in all these issues regarding vaccination. Um, who are the stakeholders? The healthcare practitioners, the physicians, the government, the politicians, the researchers, academicians, the NGOs, the industry, people who need them the most, people who are at risk, people are more vulnerable to certain diseases, and also people who make decisions for these people, like parents, or carers. These are all the people, the stakeholders, when we talk about health, or in this instance, this vaccination. um, so who should communicate about vaccination? Honestly, I think people who know about vaccines are the best ones to talk about it. People who are trained, who are properly trained. Like probably Dr. Hamida would be able to explain it much more in detail, and and correctly, as opposed to I could. Um, and let's be honest, who do you prefer to take your medicine prescriptions from? A doctor who has like years and years training in medicine, or an architect, for example. Nothing against architect. My husband is in an architect, but I think I would rather get my prescription from my doctor. um, but you see, all these healthcare practitioners, all these experts, medical experts, biologists and whatnot, they need help. They need help to communicate, because uh, we need to plan communication properly. And there is an art to communication. You see, humans are very complicated. We do not just live in a vacuum. We are surrounded by social context, social norms, culture. We evaluate risks differently. We perceive benefits differently. Our level of self-efficacy is different. Our motivations are different. So these are all of the things that we need to take into consideration when we communicate to certain groups. So humans are complex. That's why we see there's a lot of anti-vaxxers communities out there. How else would you explain people being misguided to drink bleach just because Donald Trump suggests that it's safe and it could kill COVID-19 virus? So this is this is the world that we're living in, where there's a lot of opinion leaders out there that is not well trained in health, and these are the people who have more followers than the healthcare experts. And this is a bit worrying, because these opinion leaders are the ones who could make that nudge for people to take that decision, health decision, to make that health decision. So there's a risk for these kind of opinion leaders to be communicating about health, to be communicating about vaccines as if they know it all, but in reality they don't. So who should we communicate this vaccine to? I suggest everybody, because everybody holds a stake in health, in vaccination. So I would say we need to communicate to everybody. But I think the better question here, or the more important question here, is, how are we going to communicate? And as I suggested earlier, we just need to learn to embrace living in the media saturated world that we are right now. And it's very interesting, because there are many opinions to how we should approach it. Last week, I was talking to my undergraduate students and about social media and how it promotes freedom of expression. And they were telling me, Dr. Emma, don't let your kids go on Twitter. Twitter is so toxic. People are so mean. There's just lots of rubbish on there, and it's not good for your kids. Um, and I told them, I mean, the most natural thing to do as parents, yes, we need to protect our kids. Don't let them see all this. Don't control their the kinds of social media or websites they go on. Yes, to a certain extent, we can control, but to me, a better way to approach it is to actually educate our kids, educate people on how to actually use the media, how to become critical thinkers when you are presented with information on health, how to don't just believe in one source, go and check other sources, go on other platforms, and talk to experts before you make any decisions regarding your health. So I think that is the way forward, because we, as I mentioned earlier, we can't actually live outside of the media saturated world. It is our world. So we have to learn to embrace it. And at the same time, we need to be understanding other groups, all these anti-vaxxers, how do they become that way? How do they feel so strongly against vaccines? In order to persuade them to think positively about vaccination, you need to understand them. What are their worries? Why do you think they become that way? Fighting is not the way. Having healthy debates on the media is the way. Getting people to express their concerns, and then us being the media consumer, smart media consumers, to judge this kind of information, this kind of debates, this kind of dialogues, and to see which one is actually better than the other before making any decisions. I wouldn't quick to point to the anti-vaxxers as the culprit in this whole scenario. I feel that the whole culprit in here is technology itself, because with artificial intelligence, with algorithm that's so smart, they're just keep on feeding you information that is one-sided. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like algorithm. I think I like it when Netflix suggested me to watch Bridgerton after I watched The Crown. So we appreciate what algorithm do to us and improve our lives. But in these instances, it can actually cause danger because if if you search for information about anti-vaccines or anti-vax community, you will keep getting this kind of messages on your social media feeds, on your search results, because the technology, the internet reads your pattern of behavior. So this is the culprit, I believe. And this is basically the reason why Donald Trump won the last election, is by sheer online campaign strategies. So yeah. So with that, I think thank you very much. I think it's enough for the first round. Over to you. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Emma. So basically, okay, your point is that okay, every one of us is responsible. Okay, we are responsible of these issues, and then we have to take part also. Yeah, in ways for accepting. Okay. See how the importance of this vaccination. However, based on my reading and observations, okay, I think okay, to spread okay the right and effective message on the about vaccinations on media particularly is not easy. It's very challenging, like what Dr. Emma said. Okay, whatever that we search, okay, the algorithm, okay, is there, all right, and then so either public, again the normal public, or like vaccine hesitancy, okay, to have I think it's very challenging lah for media particularly, yeah, to spread this information. With that, okay, Dr. Shira, I just want to ask you your opinion. uh, how do you see that, or how do you see social media okay affected um, the process of creating these safe and accountable messages about a vaccination? Furthermore, yeah, as you can see, social media platform is open to all, right? And so you can have ideas, inputs from all people, either vaccine hesitancy or just the normal public that accept vaccines.
All right. All right. Thank you, Dr. Shakira. Okay, in response to the justification given by Dr. Emma, I agree that Facebook works well, Instagram works well when it comes to giving us or feeding us with the information that we search, even though sometimes some people might not even realize that that is happening, but suddenly it happened, okay, in today's society. You only search something, or you might be discussing privately with your friends, and suddenly tomorrow it will appear on your feed. So it is we call it how algorithm works, which we cannot deny, right? So but on the other hand, we should admit that social media people itself, or individuals, have to some extent contributed to the insemination of anti-vaccine sentiments, because if you notice, it's not that we only being fed by this information, but some individuals, they purposely go and search for the information, like what Dr. Emma highlighted just now, between doctors and the normal between doctors and what is it, architecture. Which one do you go in order to find information? So for me, individual has the ability to control what they want to be exposed to. So in that sense, if that person goes to social media to find information and being misled by those misinformation, so he or she has the responsibility on his or her action. And I would like to touch a bit on the activity which were carried out by anti-vaxxers, which can be suggested has deepened the misunderstanding, and can influence the vaccine, can influence the decrease in the vaccine coverage. So if you notice in the slide presentation, I mentioned, not really mentioned, but I just take an example, okay? An example of how the narrative on the social media can actually lead us towards something that misinformation. Okay, if you if you go to the social media provides you platform to discuss, to gain knowledge, to share experiences, and this is one of the several examples that I give here of how the use of social media can lead to the misunderstanding of vaccination, because people did not go to the right individuals, people did not go to the right sources of information, and this is the problem that we have to tackle, I believe, and this is something that we should not take it lightly. For example, the one shown here, formalizing to reject vaccine. So this is not the first time I saw this kind of post. I already saw this several times. So if you are teaching someone to reject vaccine, so what is your capacity in that sense? So where is your responsibility? So you have to ask yourself as well on how what will happen if people follow your advice, and what will happen to the herd immunity, or what we call it as immunity kelompok. If let's say everyone started to reject vaccine, we start to formalize to reject vaccine and whatnot, right? And then the previous example in the previous slide, narrative. So if you notice on social media, on any platform, Instagram, and you compare between social media and the mainstream media, which one do you prefer to get your information? I believe most of you, we go to Facebook, Instagram. So I also do the same thing. However, okay, but I always be more careful to double check the information. But how many people are ready to do that? Okay, in that sense, social media plays a very important role in our life, and it can influence us to a certain extent that we might not be able to foresee what will happen in the future. So right now, we can already see the consequences of social media, the usage of it, and so on and whatnot. So the narrative in the social media is interesting, is engaging, feature stories. So if you read, you will be compelled to believe in the information. And I also sometimes when I read those posts, so I have this kind of wow, very interesting. So so on the part of individuals, what is your next step? So for me, of course, the next step is we have to go to the right person, to the right source of information. All right. So that would be two examples given. So basically, there I would like to state a few numbers on what happened in 2019. Okay, according to the record of the Ministry of Health, measles cases jumped by 75.9% in 2018, and pertussis was also reported to have killed 22 people, in which 19 people were found unvaccinated, and the report also stated that 5 diphtheria cases were reported leading to death, and 4 of them were not vaccination. So if you look at these numbers, yeah, the numbers is small. 5 people, 22 people died. So it's not a big number, okay? But if you might claim in such a way, but and you might see it as it's just a small number out of 26 million Malaysian. But everything starts small. We have to remember what happened right now. COVID-19, everything starts small. I know the comparison is not fair because COVID-19 has no vaccination yet, but this is what I'm trying to tell. It started with 1 digit, 2 digit reported cases, and look at now what happened to us due to COVID-19. 1-digit cases every day. We cannot go anywhere. We're stuck at home. We cannot go to the office. Our kids cannot go to school. And then some of us got so stressed out due to the situation. So the question is here, do we want to take the risk? Do we want to take the risk? Of course, we are not taking the risk. But I'm not putting the blame on social media users whatsoever. What I'm trying to say here is that vaccine communication is very important. Okay, vaccine communication is very important in order to educate the public, and also the public lah, and also to make sure that everyone plays a role. To make everyone aware why we should take vaccine, why and how vaccine can protect our community, right? So I think I have answered Dr. Shakira's question regarding the social media.
Okay. All right. Okay, can I stop the slide, Dr. Shira?
Yes, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shira, for your explanations on how um, social media play a role in this and the role of every one of us. So next, okay, I think I would like to pose my questions to Dr. Emma.
Okay.
Dr. Emma. All right. Because Dr. Shira just now mentioned a little bit, okay, touch on this COVID-19, okay, situations, okay. So do you think the scenario, okay, or can you explain more about this COVID-19 scenario in relations to vaccine communications? And maybe also you can touch on how can vaccine communication be made relevant beyond the context of COVID-19.
Right. Thank you very much, Shakira. I think COVID-19 is a game changer, don't you think so? It really just make our life upside down. Everybody became so concerned and so focused on one thing. I don't think there is any time in my whole lifetime that we are presented with this degree of seriousness when it comes to public health. So it is a game changer, and everybody is concerned. A survey that was done by the Ministry of Health late last year to sort of gauge Malaysian public's sentiment towards whether they are pro to taking vaccines or against it. Um, in the course of 7 days where the online survey was conducted, uh, MOH was able to get about 212,000 respondents. And that's just amazing. I mean, I'm a researcher, and the best that I've gone so far to get responses is 5,000 in a week. So this to get like 212,000 responses is amazing. So this number itself is showing the degree of people who are aware of COVAX, of COVID-19 vaccines, and already forming an opinion on it, whether they are pro or they're against it or they're unsure. So I not just to pick on their results. Alhamdulillah, I think Malaysians are generally pro to taking the vaccination, where 67% agreed to taking the vaccination, and 16% who don't feel they want to take the vaccination, while 17% are unsure. So this number is kind of bit assuring, because I think majority of us are are feeling positive, and we might see a positive uptake of the COVAX once it's available in Malaysia. So Alhamdulillah for that. Um, However, although vaccination remains a well-accepted norm worldwide, and especially in Malaysia, a combination of factors does affect communication on vaccination. All this misinformation, yes, that we've talked, in extent today, but also there's a decrease in trust. Decrease in trust, unfortunately, to certain organization or certain entity, like for example the government itself. There's a decreased trust in science itself. There's a decreased trust in the vaccine industry, and probably there are some weaknesses in the healthcare delivery system itself. These are the things that builds up to and this public sort of diminish trust to taking vaccination and COVAX. So I think it is very important that we address all this misinformation that is going on COVAX. Um, I think for the first time, the World Health Organization felt, the need to take this misinformation issue to a higher level, to a greater awareness. They first held the WHO Infodemic Conference, first time ever last year. And I think they have done like 3 conferences since. So that shows the magnitude of concern that the WHO has on the misinformation that's just not happening in Malaysia but all over the world, and the different kinds of misinformation that's affecting different regions and different parts of the world. So it's the WHO also have started recruiting infodemic managers worldwide, because they feel that there is a need to monitor and to control and to sort of think of a way to manage misinformation in society. So for the first time ever, people are worried of infodemic more than a pandemic itself. So this is quite interesting, I feel. Um, to me, infodemic is the super spreader strain in COVID-19 because I mean, at least COVID-19 we can prevent it from social distancing ourselves, wearing masks, keep cleaning our hands. But infodemic, I mean, it could just reach you, faster than a speeding bullet. So it is a breeding ground of uncertainty, and in any health issues, uncertainty is what the thing that is a danger. It's sowing the seed of doubt. Once the public has doubts, about the vaccine, the delivery of vaccine, trust in government, trust in the industry, trust in science itself, so these doubts are the ones that created more and more uncertainties and more worries and more search for information that is anti or that is wrong, and being fed with more information on your social media that is also wrong. And these are the things that make people make the wrong decisions, make biased decisions because of this one-sided information that they have received. um, so I feel that definitely we need a plan. We need a multi-pronged plan, communication plan, but also a behavior-driven strategy intervention to increase public's trust, to increase the uptake of vaccinations in general. So yes, MOH results, survey results says that it's positive. Malaysians are positive, but how do we know that it could actually predict actual behaviors? Actually, people who are taking these vaccinations, we don't know. And in between that, as misinformation or fake news is circulating, more and more doubts are being sowed into the society, and this is the danger. We need to prepare for the adverse reactions that might happen, and before, during, the rollout of COVAX in Malaysia. So I suggest that, I hope that the Ministry of Health will take take into consideration to look at their survey results, because I find it's very interesting to look at reasons why people who are opposed to taking COVID-19 vaccines. So if I may just share with you, to those who don't prefer to don't want to take vaccines, about 96.1% are afraid of the side effects. About 84.6% are worried of what's in the vaccines, as what rightly is mentioned by Dr. Hamida. 76% felt that it could cause death. 62.6% felt that the vaccines would not be effective, and 47% felt that they are not at risk of COVID-19. So I say we take these concerns, we try and understand, why people are actually having these concerns and try to address it. Try to, so our communication plan should focus on tailoring their messages to address these concerns to the people who are still skeptical, who are still, on the other side of the fence or on the fence. You're trying to get them all to be, all we're in this together. So in order for public health to prevail, this is how we should do it. We should go back to the core of health communication, which is the study and the practice of communicating health information, so that we would have a positive health outcome, improve health behavior. So it goes beyond health education. It's just not to understand what's what your medicine label is saying to you. It's being able to be critical of the information that you read, before making any decisions. So you have to take care of people by educating them, increasing their media literacy level, increasing their health literacy level, so that to be successful in all this. Yeah. So thank you, Shakira. Over to you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Emma. So yes, okay, I would agree with you. Okay, on the point that yeah, the trust issues. Okay, is one of the factors. Okay, that we can see leads to all these misconceptions of vaccinations, and then also because of the too many informations. Okay, until it's become saturated, make people don't know which one we can rely on and which one are not, also become an issue of it. So okay, you touch on that. So I just wanted to share, okay, any opinion from Dr. Hamida, if you would like to respond the challenges about this issue in the context of maybe cultures or lifestyle.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Shakira, and thank you to Dr. Vanushira and also Dr. Emma. Right, I love your talk. So, okay, let me just. Okay. So, as we have discussed, one among the main reason of these issues and challenges in vaccination are due to the lack of knowledge and understanding, as well of less critical thinking among the public. So it is high time, and it is actually very important for us, for everyone, to deliver the right information, to make sure, ensure the quality of information, the reliability of information available, right, that can be accessed to the public, right? So this will then educate the public on how to do the correct judgment, and also to believe on what they should believe, right? So all this emphasize the importance of vaccine communication, because this is one of the way that can reach the public, right? And as Dr. Emma mentioned, very fast route, like even faster than the speed of bullet train. Okay, so in terms of the vaccine communication, respond to the challenges. For instance, in the aspect of religion, right? So I would like to touch on the issue of halal status of a vaccine, right? So there are queries, there are questions on, there might be trace of pork, maybe DNA of pork or substance from pork, or some even say, I don't want any monkey cells or fetus cell, and it's very cruel for the scientists. Why do you need to kill monkeys? Why do you need to kill the babies just to produce the vaccine? It's so unfair. But actually, all this happened because of lack of understanding. Actually, in the real vaccine development setting, I can assure you, right, at the vaccine factory, there is not even half monkey available there. Okay, not even one or not even half monkey present there, because they do this work using the cells, using what's that, cell culture, where they obtain the cell. For instance, the fetus. Okay, they took the cell from one fetus, and scientists, there's a method in cell culture where scientists can just regrow the cell without having to kill another baby, one another, right? Like 1 million babies just to produce 1 million vials of vaccine. So that doesn't happen, right? So because actually science field is having this paradigm shift. So lots of new technologies is being introduced and they are racing with each other, right? So yeah. So in terms of this halal issue, actually it's been addressed by our authorities through Majlis Fatwa, through their Muzakara Jawatan Kuasa Fatwa on vaccination, and the information have also been ruled out and spread by Ministry of Health and JAKIM. So all this document is actually readily available on the internet within the reach of the fingertip of the public, right? So it's just a matter of the effort, right? And then of your judgment, of your stand, whether you want to believe or not, right? So the next one, in terms of culture and lifestyle, I would like to take example of the pseudoscience or false claim. This is it sounds like scientific theory, scientific term, but actually it's false. It's pseudo. It's not right. Okay, so this happened due to various of reasons such as business, right? They love to have the feeling of having power when people tend to believe them, and a lot more. So in fact, this pseudoscience and false claim is being enhanced by media, especially media social, because as we know, as we have discussed before, anybody can share whatever information that they like without having to go through like a gatekeeper, right, in order to check whether it's true or not. So in terms of vaccine communication, to respond to these challenges, I hope there will be no more intensive coverage, right, on the right facts, right information on the vaccination, on the vaccine itself, and including other issues, not only the public issues, sometimes we need to explain the storage of vaccine, how safe it is, how do we transport from the ship to the hospital. Sometimes this little thing might create chaos in the public, right? So this will then influence the thinking and the judgment of the public again, right? So as we see now in the social media, right? Medical practitioner and also scientists, a lot of them have been actively engaged in social media where they start to interact with their followers, with their readers. They share knowledge, okay, explain theories, and even discuss on various issues. So this is a good move by them, right? I can say that myself is a scientist, but I'm not reached to that level of engaging with the users of social media yet, because yeah, not everybody have the talent in doing creative writing. I myself, I found it easier to write a journal, scientific journal, just write facts rather than having to write long, like essay or something. So yeah, so in terms of social media, right, apart from delivering the right information, right, this can also will help to influence the users, the social media users, the followers, okay, to influence the way they think, to nurture critical thinking, and also to influence the lifestyle of the followers, right? So, for example, Dr. Emma mentioned about drinking bleach to combat COVID-19. I think this happened because when they Google how to kill virus, okay, so it will come out as using bleach. But actually, there is a bit more explanation to that rather than just simply straight away taking it raw like that. Actually, bleach can be used to kill virus, yes, but on inanimate object, meaning that in the object, non-living object, okay, not by drinking it, right? Because in order to have any kind of treatment, we need to have the judgment whether the harmful part of it is bigger than the benefit of that, right? So apart from that, if we reflect at the beginning of this pandemic, even until now, there are lots of tips and remedies being shared all over in the social media. Okay, you eat ikan singgang, singgang ikan, so that will protect you from coronavirus. Okay, you eat lots of kunyit, garlic, whatever. Okay, so macam-macam lot of tips and remedies being shared. Okay, I'm not saying that these are not true because no detailed study have been conducted, right? But this might be not that accurate information as compared to how vaccine work in order to control this COVID-19 pandemic, right? Because first of all these tips are normally very general, all right? It's not specifically will kill the coronavirus itself compared to vaccination. But what happened to the public, right? Because without us knowing, there might be some individuals that tend to believe to this kind of situation, this kind of tips, because maybe they are scared of having the injection, they are scared of the adverse effect or something. So they tend to follow these tips and remedies and not taking the vaccine. Okay, inshallah when the vaccines are available. And what happened is that this certain individual might have COVID-19, okay, might have the infection, or they can be the symptomatic carrier. I mean, they have the virus in them, but they show no symptom. So they go to work, they socialize as usual, but without knowing that at the same time, they are sharing and spreading the virus to other people, right? So we don't want this to happen. So this is where the vaccine communication is important, and it is crucial, it's critical to respond these challenges, right? So apart from that, the communication tools itself, we have various of tools, communication tools, vaccine communication tools, but the tools itself is not enough, okay, for to deliver the right information to the public. We need the help from our government, from the authorities on, I don't know, there might be a way to check and to filter the information so that only the right information is being received by the public, right? Apart from the right information, at the same time, this kind of thing can help these people from medical team, from the scientists, right? Rather than spending time explaining again and again and again about vaccination, they can just focus on their work because all the available information are already being endorsed. Only the right information is available, right? And last but not least, as a public, it is the responsibility for all of us, each one of us, to check the information before sharing, right? So once we came across the information on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram or whatever, do not just panic. Okay, oh, there's a case in here, or I'm panicking, and start sharing. Don't go there. There's a case of COVID over there. No, please check first. We have My Sejahtera app and whatnot, right? Please check all the information. Make sure it's correct. Make sure you check from the right right bodies. Okay, before sharing the information. Because what can I see is that people, public, including me myself, right, we tend to believe on what we want to believe, right? It is to confirm our stand, right, to have more confidence in the things that we are doing. But in terms of something factual, something theoretical like this, it is important for us to make sure that the things that we believe in is actually have the evidence, have the scientific basis out of it. Right. So, okay, I think that's all from me. Over to you, Dr. Shakira.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hamida. Okay, it's a many informations that we can get. Okay, based on your explanations just now, you touch on the Islamic perspective and then from the science perspective also. So I think okay, we are about to end our discussions. But before that, I open the floor to all the speakers. Probably okay, you would like to have or to share okay any suggestions okay yeah maybe some of it Dr. Emma already mentioned, but perhaps okay Dr. Shira, you have anything more to add on it on these suggestions, on suggestion about these issues?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shakira. All right. When it comes to suggesting on how to improve the vaccine communication, I think one of the many strategies that we have to look at is in terms of the quality of the communication itself. And I agree with Dr. Emma and Dr. Hamida. We need to tailor the content of our messages to specific audience. We call it as audience specific content. And by having this audience specific content, we are actually using communication communication that is targeted towards a particular group, that would require different strategies and require different skills, as well as the use of age appropriate language, which is the language that can be understood by this group of people. For example, if we were to talk to the elder generation, right? So if it might be a bit challenging to use the terms, jargons that they might not be able to understand. But when we deal with the youth, those who use the media frequently, the what we call it, technology savvy people. So we need to have we need to use more scientific information, and we need to get them understand by tailoring our message according to the target group. All right. And then if we are dealing with, for example, if we are dealing with small kids, for example, I would like to recall when we were young, when we were kids. So in schools, we were asked by our teachers, okay, you have to go there, you take injection, and then everyone went there taking our injection, but none of us asked the nurse or even our teachers, what is it for? We just followed, right? We just followed, and then we get jabs. So once it's done, so it's done. So there is no communication there. In my case, okay, I'm not saying the whole population, but in my case, I was not really aware what injection that I got and for what purpose. But at least I know that I need to take injection because my school teacher asked me to go there and get the injection. So I think this is where we need to have some kind of communication right at the beginning, at this level. By having this coherent, uniform education in primary school, in secondary school, every party is actually sharing the responsibility, whether you are the teaching staff, you are the school administrators, you are the teachers, the health ministers, whatsoever, and also the families. They are playing the role to make sure that we are aware that the value of prevention is more important as the fundamental to create the aware vaccine culture in the population, in a specific population. So I think communication to tailored to specific group is very crucial. Okay, that is my first suggestion. And another important thing is that when we talk about doing research, we've done lots of research, but how far, okay, how much do we really communicate this research? Do we really publish the research results? To what extent, okay, to what extent these research results have benefited the society, and how this research can be used to counteract misinformation? We need to be aware false information travels very fast. That is the reality nowadays. And false stories travel very fast by 70% as compared to the true stories. This is on Twitter, all right? So, so if we are to counter these problems, fake news, we need to employ all kinds of evidence-based information and present them in manners that are enticing to our audience, to our readers, or maybe we try to present them in a more provocative format to gain equivalent attention as the fake news or false stories. But when we do so, we should have knowledge. We cannot simply do it and boom, we think it's going to be to have an impact. So we need to be careful. We need to have some kind of strategies. And what I'm trying to say is that yes, we need to present this content to engage the readers, but we need to be careful again. Engaging in this sense should not be mistakenly with sensationalism, right? Just because we want the limelight, we sensationalize certain things, right? So I think we still need to be careful with how we should present the evidence-based information, because if the wrong technique is used, if the wrong topic or title is used, it will be twisted. It will be played around by individuals who reject vaccine, like we are facing right now, and that would lead to misinformation. And I think I just want to quote here on how, when I first read a newspaper headline about Norway warns of COVID-19 vaccine risk after 23 die. So that headline is catchy because it gives us information on, okay, COVID-19 vaccine might have a risk that would lead us to, death. But then when we go to the news stories, it there are several contributing factors to the death of the people, because they are fragile, old people with diseases. So that would be the contributing factors. My point is that how many people really go and read the whole story, right? So not everyone is extra cautious enough to go there and to check information, to fact check information that they read, that they got on the internet. So this is where I think I think everyone knows that media literacy is important. This is where we need to be critical before we accept any knowledge, any information that are there on the net. And this is and vaccine communication is something that we need to improve in order to suit the nature of the changing society, especially in Malaysia and also globally. And then I think one of our panels, or both of our panels, also have mentioned about the use of the old and the new tools to communicate about vaccination. We can no longer say that the mainstream media is the only platform to discuss about vaccination or to create awareness, but we need to also engage with the new tools, with the new platforms, such as all the social media that we have. And then I think that would be my suggestion so far, and I think I leave the rest to the other maybe the other panels to elaborate more. Thank you, Dr. Shakira.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shira. Yes, okay. I do agree that it is very important, yeah, like what you mentioned, the importance of us, okay, maybe media practitioners, okay, to tailor, okay, the informations, okay, the communications, how we want to address these issues according to specific groups, so that, okay, it's easy to understand. All right, so misinformation is not there. And then also the sensationalized issues of how people write newspapers headlines, okay, to capture audience attention, okay, is I think something that very interesting, okay, if you look, and people easily misguided with it. On top of that, okay, maybe either Dr. Hamida or Dr. Emma, would you like to add more on this, or give any suggestions or proposals of future? Okay, Dr. Hamida or Dr. Emma?
Dr. Hamida, do you want to go first? I'm typing the answers on the chat room right now.
Okay. All right, Dr. Hamida. Well,
All right. So this is not the third round yet, right? This is the further discussion on what have been discussed, right? Okay, so I would like to respond to add. There's Dr. Wanoshira. She mentioned about the headline, right? The catchy headline used not only by the anti-vaxxers but also the media. All right. For instance, there's a headline saying that sick death due to COVID-19 vaccination, right? So as a public, as a reader, we tend to believe, and as we see the headline, oh, this is dangerous. This vaccine is causing 6 people to die, but without reading further explanation on that, right? So this is the danger of having some sort of like a misleading title in the media, where actually the detail of explanation of this case is that among the 6 individuals that died, 4 of them didn't take vaccination. I mean, they go for trial, but they are in the control group. So what have we injected in the body is not actually a vaccine, that's just a control. Okay, so that leaves the other two. So further investigation revealed that these other 2 individuals actually died because of heart attack, not because of the vaccine. All right. So, however, maybe in the perspective of the media, they would like to capture the attention of the readers. All right, to gain more likes and stuff. So they tend to use these headlines. So this is where that we have been discussed. There must be an like initiative as a gatekeeper from the authorities on to counter this kind of problem, so that not only the content, even the headlines must not be misleading, because this will affect the public as they tend to believe on what actually being served right in front of their eyes. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you, Dr. Hamida. Dr. Emma, would you like to add anything, okay, or any suggestions on this?
Yes, sorry. I was just typing on the chat room there just to answer a few questions. Um, yeah, I well, fantastic suggestion from Dr. Shira and also Dr. Hamida. I think I would just like to probably share a story of how a successful story of how communication using behavioral um, social behavior drivers works in vaccination. So this is a case study in Afghanistan, where a country with mortality rate is the worst in the world. They have 115 mortality rate over 1,000 births. It's the worst in the world, and children there, babies there, only 50% of them complete the whole vaccination routine. So the problem is, mothers. I mean, communities there, they don't live in one place a long time. They move a lot. They're like Bedouins, and mothers don't really keep, all these immunization records. So when they see, healthcare providers, they see doctors, the doctors themselves actually don't know what kind of injection, what kind of immunization or vaccination that this baby has had before. And without this documentation, it's very hard for doctors to monitor, to make sure, to ensure that everybody is fully immunized. And that put a lot of Afghan children in a lot of health risk. So I think one of at one of the healthcare premises, the doctors there, the healthcare practitioners there, the nurses there, saw something. They saw that in these babies are wearing charm bracelets. So these are the charm bracelets that are believed to help protect the children from evil forces. Like in Malaysia, we used to have this like tangkal, kan? When babies are born last time lah, during a long time ago. We know that babies sometimes wear tangkal or wear So in Afghanistan, babies wear this charm bracelet, which consists of beads, so black beads. So the healthcare practitioners thought, hey, why not we use this to get mothers, their buy-ins, and also help doctors to monitor, to track, what kind of vaccination that, this baby has had. So they built this system called immunity bracelets, where they call it immunity charm. So in this bracelet, they put colorful beads. Like each color of the beads represents different kinds of immunization that baby has had. So so that when this mother moved to a different village, goes to see a different doctors, the doctors then know, oh, this kid has gotten diphtheria tetanus or whatever, MMR, or any kind of vaccination. So they will ensure that these babies are complete their whole vaccination routine. And the mothers don't have to carry all this documentation. So it's easier for the mother loves the beads because it's colorful, it's pretty, and it subscribes to their belief that, oh, this is going to protect my kid from evil forces. At the same time, the doctors can communicate among each other wherever they are, because they look at the bracelets and they know what kind of immunization that's due next. So this is an example of a successful social behavioral communication campaign that was done on immunization. And I feel that that sort of brings me to my recommendation. Social behavioral drivers are very important. We need to be listening and engaging with public discussions. We have to invest in our community, engage with them to build trust. Um, Healthcare providers need to work together with health behaviorists, with health communication experts, with health psychologists, to implement strategic health behavior communications that could lead to positive impact. Again, going back to my first point, embrace the world that we're living in. The world is boring without anybody to play ball with. Imagine playing badminton without a partner. You serve the shuttlecock and nobody else to um, pass the shuttlecock back to you. Wouldn't it be a boring world? So I say embrace it. It's good to have a healthy banter. It's good to have a healthy dialogue, as long as it serves a bigger purpose to keep our public informed, to help them to make better decisions about their health. Yeah. So that I give back to you, Dr. Shakira.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ima. Okay. Looking at the time right now, we are at 12:30 already. So I think, okay, I would like to open the floor for Q&A if the audience have any questions for any of the speakers. All right. You can write in at the chat box so that we can pick up. Or maybe, okay, if you don't want to write in, okay, maybe you can on your speaker and then, like on your audio, and then you can just post your questions. Which ones that you comfortable with?
Dr. Shakira, while waiting for the questions, can I just share the relationship on vaccine communication with this pandemic COVID-19?
Sure.
Right. Okay. So I would like to take this current pandemic that is happening right now. All right. Which actually we are looking forward to get the vaccination. Right. Okay. So from this pandemic, there's actually a blessing in disguise, because as we can see, vaccine communication is starting to get more attention. Okay, we have more platform. We start seeing experts is being given a slot on the TV. All right, their voice is actually important now, right? And they put so much effort. They spend lots of their precious time in order to educate the public, right? Not only on the basic things about vaccination, but actually they have this effort to convince the public, right, to believe on this COVID-19 vaccination. So this is actually a step forward in vaccine communication field. Okay, so and again, Dr. Nushira have mentioned about getting vaccination at school without us knowing on what is it all about. So as a scientist myself, I would like to call attention, all right, to the importance of scientific knowledge to be nurtured from a very young age, not to get straight A's in your exam, not to go to science boarding school or something, but because science knowledge can be applied in life, right? Even though you are not interested in pursuing degree or master's or PhD in science, but at least know about it. in order to survive in this life, okay, to get some critical thinking, to have the right judgment on the information. Okay, so about the vaccination at school, maybe we can put some effort like what they did for oral health, where the nurse bring that big teeth with big toothbrush and they teach about how to take care of the oral health, how to brush teeth. So maybe the same effort, the same method or approach can be done on vaccination as well. So the kids are aware on what actually happening, right? So I think that's all for me.
All right.
Also,
Okay.
probably add on to that, not just aware of what they are doing, but also understanding why it is very important for them to do it. Dr. Hamida, if I may, if, just to start the question and answer on, I'm just curious to ask your views on this new COVID. I think a lot of people are also uncertain and unsure of the new the COVID-19 vaccines that's probably going to be made available sometime soon. And we hear that there's a lot of tests that's being done and it is safe. Um, and we know that, for example, at least there's two different ones that's already recognized as safe, the Moderna and also the Pfizer. Just wanted to ask your comments on those vaccines, and yeah, just to build public trust, I guess.
Okay, so on this COVID-19 vaccine, sorry, on COVID-19 vaccine, among the curiosity, among the issues are first, it is too quick. Normally, vaccine takes along like 10 years or more, or even, after like 50 years is not successful yet. But why does this COVID-19 vaccine, we just spend like 10 months, not we, the scientists spend like 10 months and have it readily available in the market. Okay, so first of all, in addressing this question, right, on the short period of time in vaccine preparation, we have to know the basis of this vaccine first, right? So the COVID-19 vaccine is actually mRNA vaccine, right? So it is actually synthetic vaccine compared to the previous method, the vaccine that we have been used. Okay, some of them are actually consist of attenuated virus. Okay, attenuated microbes, which means that the microbe is being activated, right? Either by we change the conformation, we change some of the characteristic. So the doctors will administer the vaccine, right? So body will recognize as, oh, this is a virus, this is a bacteria, but these attenuated microbes will not be able to cause infection because it's already cacat, retarded. Right, so it doesn't have the full characteristic to actually cause infection in the individual. So in the case of COVID-19 vaccine, it's not using this attenuated or whatever virus, it's using mRNA technology. And this is actually not a new technology. This technology started, I think, in 1990s or something. So by 2020, 2021, the method, I can say that the method is actually matured. Okay, so just waiting for the time to actually produce the real vaccine using this method. So it's just the right time that this COVID-19 pandemic happened. So they are able, like Pfizer, they are able to produce this vaccine from mRNA. So what does this vaccine do? This synthetic mRNA, that's the genetic material of the virus that being synthesized in the lab. Okay, based on the information of the genetic sequence of this virus, you've seen that, and will be inserted in our body. So our body, and then this mRNA will encode for the production of the protein, which is, as you see, the coronavirus. There's the spike. Okay, so the artificial spike will be produced in our body that will be detected, and then immune response will be triggered, followed by production of antibody, right? And this antibody will be stored in our body in case if we really have the infection of coronavirus, we already have the antibody in our body to fight against the infection, to fight against the virus. So that's how it works. So the issue is that because actually public, including myself, before I do some reading on this, I have the same query. Why is it too fast? How, I mean, did they do shortcut, right? So it's not actually shortcut, it's just the advancement in technology that help. And still that is the production part. And in term of clinical trial, because as we know, each of medicine, vaccine, they need to go through phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 clinical trial. But and actually now we are in the phase 4, where the vaccine is being used on the population, right? So this COVID-19 vaccine has passed the 3 clinical trials where it has been tested in lab, individual, and also community. So they didn't skip any part of this clinical trial. So it's being done according to the regulations. Okay. So in terms of Malaysia, for the government to bring in this vaccine and to administer to our people, right? We actually, the government, we, the government actually have set up a team of experts that consists of 11 experts in this field, right, where they will study the detail in detail the document supplemented by the vaccine producer. Okay, so they have a really strong knowledge, okay, a really good background in this field, so they know what's the report about and everything, and the report is very detailed, alright. And actually some of the reports is made available to the public as the company publish in the Lancet, in some journals, and in public database. But normally for us laymen to read, sometimes we don't really understand what it's all about, so we just leave it to the expert. Malaysian have formed up the team, okay, where they go through the document to make sure that the vaccine is safe, because that's the issue of this vaccine, saying that it's being produced in the cold country. So will it affect the quality and the effect of this vaccine when we bring it to Malaysia, because Malaysia is hot cold country, and then they query about how are we going to handle the storage, the handling, the transportation of vaccine, because for Pfizer, I think if I'm not mistaken, we need to store this vaccine in minus 80 all the time, all right, and it can only be left outside for like less than 1 minute or something, or else it will not be effective anymore. So according to the expert, they have the history, okay, the successful story of this kind of problem, where in Congo they have this vaccine, and as we know, Congo is even hotter than Malaysia, and they are able to encounter this problem by transporting the vaccine in a very low temperature, minus temperature, in small thermos, in small flask. So the small flask, instead of bringing the whole, you know, like minus 80 fridge is very big and it needs like electricity, high electricity, and very sensitive. So instead of bringing the whole big minus 80 fridge, they can just bring the flask on the boat and go to the rural area and administer the vaccine to the people. So these are among the issues on this COVID-19 vaccine. So personally, in my point of view, yes, because we have expert that endorse the decision made by our government. It's not the decision that they made overnight, right? So they are the basis. But the issue is that because we have ordered the vaccine, few millions unit, and then the public query that the report from NPRA is not being out yet, right? So according to the SOP and NPRA, they need around 90 to 120 days to complete the report, because it is a very high responsibility for them, okay, to go through each of the details in the document. So I'm sure they are going to do it very well. They are going to read it word by word, because in case if anything happened to our people, they have to hold the responsibility. So yeah, I think financially from me, just we leave it to the expert, right? And I myself will go for the vaccination once it's available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamida. Really, really very clear. So thank you very much.
All right. Okay. We have two questions here in the chat box. Okay. One is by Aznan Matpia. Okay. What do you think of the present effort of MOH to address the issue of miscommunication and in creating greater confidence among the public in the light of vaccination exercise later next month? There's still public mistrust. I'm not so sure either Dr. Emma or Dr. Shira would like to take this.
All right, I will try to address this question. Okay, so the question is effort by MOH to address the issue. So basically, I can see that some effort being done by some group of health individuals, doctors, and so on. So NGOs, for example, so they are quite active in actually addressing misconception, misinterpretation, and about vaccine generally. And if you notice, there are NGOs who play a very active role to give information about what is right and what is wrong when it comes to vaccination. So that's the first thing from my observation. And another observation is that I think the government is playing its part by engaging the media to constantly communicate about COVID-19 and also informing us on the importance not to share fake information. If you notice, you receive your SMS, right? Telling you jangan kongsi, tidak pasti jangan kongsi. So itu adalah a message. It's a simple message, but we keep receiving the message in a way that informed, or we will be diberitahu secara berterusan. Okay, so something that will help us to be more careful, be more curious, be more critical whenever we receive information. And I think on the media you can observe, or you might come across message by the ministry saying that if you are not sure, you go to this website. What is the website? Can you please help me to recall? Tidak pasti jangan kongsi. There is a website. Can you help me to recall that we discussed about this website?
Sebenarnya.my.
Yes, sebenarnya.my. So if let's say you are not sure about this information, you go to this website, you go and check, because on the website they will provide you the link or that particular fake information, and they will provide you with what is the right information. So this is one of the effective ways on how you can do fact check, okay, without simply accepting information, without knowing the source of information, without knowing the credibility of the information. So if you are not sure, you can just go to sebenarnya.my, sebenarnya.com or .my, and then you can just go there and check the information. And of course, always go to the right source, to check the information with the people with the authority. All right. So I hope that maybe some other Dr. Emma or Dr. Hamida would like to add. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you,
Can
Dr.
I just
Shakira.
add a little bit,
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah,
Shira?
sure, sure.
Yeah, on top of sebenarnya.my, we do, Malaysia is starting to build like fact checkers communities, fact checkers bodies, my check. I think my check is independent body, stems out from Bernama, that works to help myth busting, and also to sort of verify the kind of information, whether it's true or false. So in Malaysia we haven't seen that many, but I think in other parts of the world the fact checkers are growing, and I hope that we will see more growth in fact checkers in Malaysia, different bodies, and also collaboration with other other parties as well, international parties, to do fact checking for Malaysia. But I also feel that fact checking is just one part of it, because it's like firefighting, right? Fact checking is like firefighting, which is very useful too, especially when you want to check whether and we do want to check whether the information is correct or not. We want to encourage people to have that culture, behavior of try to fact check them, fact check through this fact checker website. But also, if individuals themselves are educated to how to do fact checking themselves, that would be even better. So it is taking a proactive approach to it rather than firefighting it. So if everybody is trained to know how to fact check, to know how to differentiate, to be critical of the kind of images that you see, videos that you see. There's so many augmented content out there, that is you need to be very critical, and to inculcate this critical mind is not easy, but once we're there, inshallah we'll be able to combat all this misinformation infodemic that's happening. Yeah.
Okay. I think, okay. There's a question by Farhan bin Muhammad. I think, Farhan, you are from UTM, is it? Because it's state there, UTM. He asking about, since Malaysia has a three different group of people, well informed, misinformed, uninformed, should the government develop different communication kit or one for all kit would be sufficient? I think some of this point has been mentioned just now, but I think Dr. Ima, as healthcom people, that
All right. Thank you, Dr. Shakira. Thank you, Dr. Farhan, for that question.
oh okay,
Dr. Farhan leads the corporate communications in UTM, actually.
oh
So,
okay,
yes, of course. I mean, it's sometimes it can be overgeneralizing to say that there's only three groups: the well informed, misinformed, or uniform. Uninformed. I look at it as a spectrum rather than just categorizing to groups. But yeah, I mean, for the sake of practicality, operationalization, yeah, it's good that we have a general idea that there are groups of people, there are groups of population that are misinformed, there are group of population that is uninformed. So the way to tackle these communities or this population is definitely different. Maybe the uninformed don't even know what's going on, so we should address the more basic level of knowledge. Whether they're misinformed, they might be too much information, they have too much information. So the way to tackle the misinformed group is different. And you won't be surprised that the misinformed groups are they're not they're not the people who are with less education. I know a lot of people with PhDs are easily believe in fake news or easily misinformed. So it's not about level of education. It's again going back to how do you understand the concerns, the fears, what are the worries of this group. So my proposition is for for the Ministry of Health to look back at their survey, wonderful survey, um, and to look back at reasons why people are having fears of this COVAX, side effects, worried what's in there, worried that it could cause death, worried that the vaccine is not effective. So these are the worries that we need to address when we formulate, when we devise or design communication messages. We need to be addressing this kind of this kind of worries, because this kind of worries is the ones you tackle their emotions, you tackle their feelings, you tackle their beliefs. It is more sustainable, rather than you just tell people to do things. People wouldn't want to do things just because you tell them, or else we won't have obesity. We won't have people eating fast food, or taking too much sugar, or people would probably everybody would stop smoking if they just receive information on that smoking is bad for your health. But it's not as simple as that, right? It's very complex. So yeah, so definitely designing messages must be done in a very um, delicate manner, well thought through. Just make sure that you really hit where it hits home. Your messages hits the right spot, the right sweet spot. So yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Farhan. I hope this answers your question. Maybe Dr. Shira, Dr. Hamida, you want to add on that?
Okay, do we have any other questions from the participants, audience?
I do have.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes.
Uh, just simple actually, because I'm reading this, just came in. I'm reading from the newspaper. Medical group has called on the government to take immediate steps to prepare the country's COVID-19 vaccine rollout strategy. All right, it just came in at 11:45, a few hours ago.
Okay.
All right, so it's really related to our webinar and the team, and also Dr. siapa ni? Shafizan, to have this event to occur, even though it's a public holiday. All right. Anyway, I'm more interested. I mean, we are talking about reality here. Dr. Hamida mentioned about it takes years to convince the people to take any kind of vaccine. Even some of us have not taken, like polio. It is a big problem, especially among the uninformed or in the rural areas. So this is something new, and you're going to face, or the government is going to face problem with regard to this vaccination. So we as scholars, what should we do? I'm more interested on the role of not only the media, but we as scholars. Are we just going to do research? How to convince the public at large, not the focus group that we are targeting, the young adults. Access on
Thank you.
new media.
Thanks.
Ni nak make sure that they are willing to go and take that vaccination. How as a scholar, I mean, we do research, we write up, we try to find out, we do survey, how many percent say this, how many percent say that. But like at my age, most of my friends are saying, takut. We go through the traditional method. What the Chinese community are doing in China, taking the traditional way of taking hot tea, lemon and honey, etc. This morning, in fact, one of them was saying, I'm not going to take it, I'm going to follow the traditional way. So how are you going? They are educated, and at one time they were professional before they got retired. So how do you convince this group of society? So I just want to tell another thing, and I have two questions, in fact. One question is,
Yes.
42 to 92, so meaning even the young people are getting this virus until they die. All right, we used to hear that it's only for the senior citizen, but now you are looking at young adults are getting it. Even children are getting it, and they die because of it. So you see the nervousness, like Dr. Emma was mentioning about, nak convince ke ni? How are we in the university to convince this group of people? You can talk about all these scientific terms, etc. Are they going to listen or not? Okay, because
Okay.
I have one article that I think I read yesterday because of this webinar. All right. So this article state about science communication. It just came out in this journal called Journal of Science Communication. In transmitting science information, and they gave us six factor here. I will pass the article to Dr. Noor Shira about this. All right. So the sixth factor is, like, how do you promote and market this idea of vaccination? Because benda ni, Dr. Hamida said, some vaccination takes 10 years to convince. But now it's only a couple of months. How are you going to overcome that? So like this statement just came out in the paper. a group has called on the government to take immediate steps to prepare the government to roll out the vaccine. So there are about 50 local health organizations and independent experts to avoid this misinformation and these conspiracy theories about the vaccine in the social media. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Cik Mazni. Alright. So I open the floor either to Dr. Hamidah, you want to answer the questions first, or maybe Dr. Emma?
Okay, I will respond to the last question first.
Yeah.
Actually, I've mentioned this in the previous explanation on why COVID-19 vaccine only spent less than a year to be available in the market is because of the advancement in the technology using the mRNA, synthetic mRNA approach. Actually, this is not really new. This technology have been started in 1990, so it's around 30 years already. Only now that is actually being used to produce this COVID-19. Apart from that, there are some other vaccines as well use this kind of strategy. So what can I see is that this kind of information normally it lingers around the scientists, around the medical based people, and it don't really reach the public in a full story, right? Normally we just cut it short and give the summary and share it with the public. So in this case, I hope and I think the best way is to have some sort like working together, collaboration, right, between experts in various fields, including science communication, all these communication field, mass comm, and all the fields, right, and find the right way, the right method on how to deliver this something sounds complex information, long story, make it short and concise and precise in order to deliver to the public, so that from this, let's say if one infographic, just one page of infographic, they can get the real story of the vaccine, for instance, right? So that's my opinion on the COVID-19 vaccination. And then the second question is on the infection of coronavirus. It used to be infected on the elderly, and then now it's starting to infect among the kids, right? If I'm not mistaken. Okay, so the thing is that this is new. This virus is new. At first, we don't even have a clue. At first, it was thought as influenza virus, and even before that, we thought that it is not a virus. We thought that it's a bacteria, and then we found out, oh, okay, this is a virus. So we thought it's influenza, and after the further analysis, we found that it is coronavirus. So the information is being updated from time to time. So it doesn't mean that once we got the information and it will remain the same. So it's our responsibility to have the up-to-date information. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that we need to be aware that this coronavirus is a virus and they can easily mutated, right? It can either be the strain that infected the elderly is different than those that starting to infect the youngsters, or in another situation, it might be because at first only the elders, okay, only the elderly show the chronic symptom, right, bad symptom because of this infection of coronavirus, okay, due to their low immunization, their condition, health condition, and age and whatnot. Okay. So once there's the as more infection happen, this virus is being stronger and lots of population is being infected, so that more of cases has arise, and that include the increase of infection cases among the youngsters, right? And then the first question, how to convince the society? So this is again the collaboration between the scientific community as well as those from the communication background. Please, it will be good if we can work hand in hand in order to help our people. So I think that's from me.
I have one last question. Satu je, very easy.
Boleh.
Why is it the majority of the people who are affected to this in our country are mostly the Malays?
Mostly the Malays. Okay, so thank you, Puan. I don't really have the data on the race. if may I know, is there any statistical
No,
report or
don't want to
something?
release it. Is there something wrong or what? But
Uh,
normally the visual they show us ialah the secara rambang tu gambar-gambar tu dalam hospital kebanyakannya Malays. And then kubur orang Melayu kena tanam. Uh, no, I'm curious. I'm curious.
yeah, yeah. So on that coverage part, maybe we can ask Dr. Emma or Dr. Shira, maybe journalism ni dia ada preference kot. Kalau dia sedara dia lagi senang nak join pengebumian ke apa or something.
I mean dia tunjukkan nak.
In the perspective of science, actually for COVID-19, it can just happen to anyone. At first, masa baru-baru COVID ni, ada yang cakap, tengok orang India jarang ada kes yang ada COVID-19 sebab dia banyak makan kari. Kalau ada sesiapa pernah terbaca this statement kan, so they are starting to advise lah, okay kita kena makan kari, maybe sebab tu orang India kurang dapat infection. And then sekali rise the case in India pun dah teruk, India country ni pun dah teruk, and dia punya death in fact lagi teruk daripada Malaysia. So this prove that this virus actually is not a living thing. Okay, dia tak ada mata, dia tak ada mulut, dia tak ada perasaan, they don't know what is happening around them, they just do what they need to do for living. Dia tak tahu pun dia ni musuh kita, dia menyebabkan kerosakan kat kita. So they can just infect anybody, alright, regarding the race, age and whatever. The difference is that how individual responds to the infection. That is why the concern is on the high risk high risk community, okay, including the elderly, those with chronic medical condition, because first of all, we don't have vaccine. Okay, secondly, the treatment for this COVID-19 is for now is the symptomatic, based on the symptoms. So if they have shortness of breath, they will help with that and so on. So I think that's my answer. So to comment more about that, I think I need to get the information, the statistic numbers and all from KKM or something, right? So maybe we can collaborate and do further investigation on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware as well that the Malays were more, I mean, in terms of race distribution, that the Malays are infected more. I wasn't aware of that. But as Dr. Hamida has mentioned, that anybody is at risk. It doesn't actually bias toward one race or another. But I think this is the problem that we are facing today, is because what the media portrays is what we think the reality is. So as what Pamazni has mentioned, you see that there are more kuburan Islam, or there's more, it symbolizes there's more death among the Malays as compared to the the rest of the race, whereby maybe the death for other races are almost the same, if not, so it's responsible and ethical reporting in the media is very important to promote unbiased information, to make sure that the reporting is fair, not just to to a certain race or age groups, or any other socio-demographic factors. So I think the media is definitely have to take responsibility to be more ethical in their reporting and choosing certain pictures, or how they want to report news or feature in their media. Yeah. Maybe Dr. Shira would want to add. I know that she has done some research on this as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Emma. And adding to what Dr. Hamida and Dr. Emma said about how the media cover about vaccination. So basically, based on our results that we conducted and based on other researches, the media in Malaysia, they are more likely to portray on issue, because of the time limitation or the space limitation, we call it. The focus is more on the issue, what happened, who died, when it happened, answering the 5W1H, and reporting news objectively is a common in news reporting or in media. So I think that would be one of the reasons why we focus less on the other aspect, okay, the other aspect of the news stories, okay. So one of my another observation that I made on media is that I perceive, I also believe that sometimes the media did not really follow certain guidelines that are being being promoted or circulated. For example, it is sensitive to portray a photo of a grieving mothers, fathers, or whoever it is. But it is common nowadays. You see media portray people in the cemetery is normal. Portray crying mother over the death of their family members, for example, is normal. And then showing very tragic graphic graphic of someone who died due to accident is normal nowadays. And I'm not saying that this is coming from individuals, but it came from the social media of the media itself. So I think this is something that the role that the media has to play, to go back to what is right and what is wrong, because it is through the media who will educate the people, and they should set a good example if they were to become the source of information. So setting the right example, giving the correct impression of
Question is very simple.
how the information should be circulated or communicated. And I think that would be one of my suggestion lah for the questions given by Cik Mazni.
No, my question is very simple because the media portray macam ni, one artist, saya pun tak kenal lah siapa artis ni, very big news on him in Astro Awani, and he said his family and grandmother also died of COVID. But the thing is, it's so rampant, the news ever since it got started, it is always focused on Muslim or Malay for that matter. And then, and it's been highlighted. And I pick up this in the social media also. People are questioning, why is it the media are portraying visual related to our culture lah, kubur, not Chinese news talk about describing, like Dr. Wan Hisham describing how we tayamum sahaja jenazah, to that extent the press us. But when the even press us, the number based on race, he doesn't want to give. So I'm just saying that even though the media know its role, which is our country multiracial, they are portraying a lot of our race, Melayu. So I'm just wondering why. Tu je lah. Why does that become an essential aspect of the media to focus on that lah, dari segi gambarannya, any senior top minister Melayu ke or artist are being highlighted in our mainstream media and then pick up by the social media. Okay, thank you.
Can I just add, I don't know, this is not really my field, so I just have the curiosity regarding to what Puan Mazni have mentioned. Is it the same situation, the same coverage being highlighted, being presented in the non-Malay based media, like let's say like the Chinese or Indian portal, the newspaper? So is there any some sort like race section? I mean, how to say, race sectionization? No.
Tak ada. I pergi kat Sinchu have the English section, tak ada. It just the similar thing happened when it got started in New York. That's where Donald Trump couldn't care them because at the beginning, most of the deaths in US were the blacks. All right, they were infected by the blacks, and then kalau you nampak the figures in New York was very, very high among the blacks, and they were from the poor slum area in in New York lah. So I think that trigger that kaitkan this COVID to the third world, which is coloured, and then when it came to US, it was the black that got it first, yang banyak dapat. This was studied made lah. So they have studied the number of infected and deaths were among the blacks and the Chicano, those people from the south, from South America. All right, the migrants that came over to the US. So you see, they are mula-mula they kaitkan this penyakit dengan orang-orang coloured. All right, so that's what they do. They couldn't care a damn about it in the beginning, because I did the study on that.
Cik Mazni. Okay, yeah. All right. I'm so sorry for cutting your questions, okay? Because I think we are running out of time. All right. It's very good observations that I see you have made in this situation. Okay, just to maybe before we end, either Wan Shira, okay, or Emma would like to just wrap up, okay, on the issues that Cik Mazni gave, and then we can conclude our sessions today.
Yeah, thank you, Cik Matni. I think it's very important, as I highlighted earlier. The media should play a more crucial role, a more important role to promote fair reporting, especially because the media, and especially whether it's traditional media or alternative sources, are the sources, are the places where people look for information. So and they make sense of this information, they make meanings of this information, like what you have shared to us, and therefore I think I would like to call the Malaysian media, the media in general, to be aware of the kind of information, the kind of news that they portray about COVID-19, about COVAX, and other health issues, to make sure that we are not we are being given the right information without any stereotypes, without any biasness. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, sorry to interrupt. I just want to add a little bit, okay? Basically, one of the ways is that I think I agree with Dr. Emma. We need to be careful, but at the same time, media should be reminded to use certain guideline when it comes to reporting certain issues. If you notice, when it comes to reporting suicidal incidents or events, media have certain guidelines. And previously, from my observation, when the media did not report the suicide case correctly, who did reminded, the World Health Organization did reminded the media on how and when to apply or to use this guideline. So I believe that in relation to vaccine communication, we need a specific guideline to communicate with a specific target group of people. So I think that would conclude my suggestion. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all. Okay. I think we have a very fruitful discussions. However, okay, time is limited. Yeah, it's already 1 right now. So we have to end our session. So before we end, I think we can conclude that we need a multi-sectoral, multi-level strategy, okay, to communicate about these vaccines and its importance. And also based on the discussions, okay, I can say, okay, we could not rely only to one type of media to improve this vaccination acceptance, but we have to use several medium, yeah. At the same time, we can also establish, okay, customized maybe public health educations for the public or designated for certain group to cater these issues and in order to have or to get positive impact. So with that, okay, I think we end our webinar today. But before that, okay, I think it would good, okay, if all of you can just switch on your cameras so that we can have photo sessions for our uh, archive here. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Um. All right. Ready, everyone? Okay. With one, two, three. Okay. Maybe Kak Syafizan, you would like to take another shoot? Just in case?
No, I think it was a very great session, very insightful. Even we have gone through more than 2 hours discussing about vaccination, and I think the response has been great as well. I hope we can move forward with more better initiative that vaccination could get more positive coverage in the media as well, communicated positively by everybody lah, individuals, everyone, just like Dr. Eva Mirzan said just now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
Assalamualaikum.
everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.
Neighbor, sayang itu.
Shira, Kak Ki, are we staying for further discussion ke apa ke?
Tak ada.
Tak ada.
Yeah, alright.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Hamida.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Mida.
Alright. Thank you, everyone.
Syafizan, I have a few articles. I dah upload. I punya research on COVID-19 in about 20 newspaper.
Wow.
That include on vaccination. The idea I got that was from Washington Post, where Donald Trump, they did a study that they said that he believed that this penyakit ni that's why he couldn't care because he thought that this was a colored punya